I thought the Premier of Victoria could not have done more to create this total disaster in Victoria, one that all Australians are paying for, of course. I mean, he totally bungled the quarantine hotels, the virus escaped. He totally bungled contact tracing, the virus spread. He totally bungled protection of aged care homes. The virus got in and hundreds died. And then he totally destroyed the economy. But, believe it or not, it turns out there is perhaps one other thing he's done. I mean, why was Victoria's contact tracing unit the unit that warns people, wait, someone else has been infected, they've been in touch, contact with you, you might be infected, go get tested, be in quarantine, all that. Why was that unit so bad compared to units in other states? So bad that Victoria now is sending a team to New South Wales to learn from the best. 7 months later. They had other things to do. 7 months, who cares? Well, the ABC's supposed virus guru, Dr Dr Swan, had a theory about why Victoria's contact tracing was so bad. Here he is.
I know Victorians hate when I start saying this. In 2009, during the flu pandemic, Victoria stopped testing. They stopped testing because their public health system couldn't cope with it. And not a lot was invested after that in the Victorian system. So they're playing catch-up.
Joining me is the man who alerted me to this, Gerard Henderson, head of the Sydney Institute, columnist with the Australian newspaper and author of the Media Watchdog blog. Gerard, Victoria stopped testing people in the 2009 flu pandemic, says Dr Swan, and not much was invested in that area since. You've looked into this. This is critical. Who was Victoria's health minister in 2009?
Well, if you're watching the ABC this morning, you wouldn't know because Dr Swan didn't say so and Michael Rowland and Lisa Miller didn't ask him. But when I looked through the records, it was Daniel Andrews who was the health minister for 3 years. So he was the health minister in 2009. So if Dr Swan is right and that decision was made and hasn't been challenged, then this was done when a very strong minister like Daniel Andrews was the Minister for Health and dominating the department. So it's on his watch. And I'm surprised that no journalist this morning even bothered to ask the key question.
This is very significant. The man has a gift, Gerard, of seeming in control, totally straight. Behind is utter chaos. It is just one of those bizarre things. Have you ever seen anything like this in your life?
Not in my lifetime, and it's gone on a while now.
Well, don't say that. Mate, you've got years ahead of you because I'm not much younger than you. But this is Newswatch. Let's look at a big story in the US that I think shows how terrible the mainstream media has become, particularly over there. The Atlantic magazine of the left ran claims by 4 sources, every single which is unnamed, anonymous, that Donald Trump 2 years ago called soldiers who died in battle losers. Now, the media and Democrats, the Democrats have run hard with this story, even though Trump denies it, as do at least 11 witnesses or staff who were with Trump at the time. Listen.
The magazine is a failing magazine, and nobody called me.
Quite frankly, if what is written in the Atlantic is true, it's disgusting.
It's a hoax, just like the fake dossier was a hoax.
Now, explain to me, Gerard, what's happened to journalism that such an explosive and unlikely claim bobs up just a couple of months before the election with only anonymous accusers to source it, and it's treated seriously?
Well, journalism is becoming increasingly unprofessional across a whole range of areas, not every area. And what you've got here is simply hearsay. It's a journalist says that someone told the journalist something that someone told him or her about what Donald Trump said. That is hearsay. That is completely unprofessional. I mean, we've seen examples of this in Australia. I mean, my most serious example, in a sense, is Louise Milligan, who ran the media poll against Cardinal Pell. Now, one of her sources, believe it or not, was the father-in-law of an ABC journalist. Now, that passed. That won a Walkley Award, that book, the father-in-law of a journalist. So we've got this all over the place. Now, what we've got with Donald Trump, I mean, one of Donald Trump's principal enemies, political enemies, as you know, is John Bolton. And Bolton was there on that trip in France. Bolton says it didn't happen. So there's a person who's an opponent of Trump saying it didn't happen, but the Atlantic is telling us we should believe all these anonymous people who allegedly, as a basis of hearsay, say it did. This is completely unprofessional.
But what does it say about Australian journalism that Paul Barry, who the ABC pays to police standards of journalism on Media Watch, actually accepted this story as true, it seems from his tweet, and claims Trump was pinged?
Well, that's grossly unprofessional. I mean, it's not surprising. Media Watch standards have never been high. They're probably going lower under Paul Barry, but that's probably a big statement. But again, Paul Barry should know. I mean, he should understand hearsay, and then beyond that, these are allegations, apart from it being hearsay, they're allegations by a journalist who's hostile to President Trump, based on what other people we assume are also hostile to President Trump allegedly told him. It's completely worthless, particularly when you've got someone like John Bolton saying it didn't happen. It's absolutely worthless journalism, but as an example of the standards in the United States, and even now with Paul Barry on Media Watch, that he would retweet something like that.
I know. I tell you what it is an example of. The biased ABC coverage that you are going to get between now and the election. It will be enormous. Gerard Henderson, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.